Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay. Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Amazon Music, Audible, and more. Because I'm on a happy 88 mission, 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. And so I want to balance out all the bad news that is so readily and easily available for you and balance it out with good news. So I bring you on location clips of great stories around our community, as well as guests and topics that make you feel good. So if you stumbled on this show, please stay. And if you're an oldie but goldie, then welcome back. And you don't have a designee for Smile Amazon nonprofit, then please use 8 Ways to Happiness, because then my nonprofit, 501c, 8 Ways to Happiness, gets a little bit of love, money, energy from Amazon. And for those of you who don't know, it's always available for donations. It's a nonprofit that is aimed at helping kids, teens, and young adults who have temporarily forgotten their birthright to happiness. So if you don't want to donate directly, then absolutely use Smile Amazon and put it in there when you shop, and I'll get a little bit. As well, I'm running a holiday special, and I only have a certain number of days to talk about it. And there's a little visual that I'm going to show you now, and you'll just enjoy the music. If you're not watching and you're just listening, then go to drmarissa.life and you will see the Happy 88 value meal that is available during the holidays for you. Enjoy. And yes, you saw all of those items in the visual. Those of you who are just listening, I'll show you real quick. There's a Balanced Tai Chi Gong DVD and download, which is the moving meditation that promotes inner peace one breath at a time. There's also my Mommy What Are Feelings book with incredible artwork done by my daughters when they were 4 and 6. And then my Happy 88 book, 8 Ways to Happiness from wherever you are, that actually hit number 1 on Amazon, number 4 on Denver Post. So the download of the audiobook, which I actually speak on, is part of that value 88 meal. It's normally $88, but you can get it for $28, as well as the original music that I sing. Some of you know that I sing, as well as the 21-day fast from complaining. So lots of goodies in that holiday special. Please do pick it up. Proceeds go to my nonprofit, 8 Ways to Happiness. And I have a wonderful announcement for you. If you are a kid, or if you're a parent of a kid who is still enamored and anxious to see Santa and wants to know where Santa is right now en route to your house, then I have a special announcement for you. I just spoke with Jeff, the OnStar Call Center Manager, and he wanted me to tell you that if you have OnStar in your car, you can actually find out where Santa is from 6 a.m. on Christmas Eve to 5 a.m. Christmas morning. All you have to do is press the OnStar button and a dispatcher will locate Santa and tell you exactly where he is. And the best part, parents, is for every time that OnStar button is pushed, OnStar will donate $1 to the American Red Cross, up to $10,000. Isn't that great? So it's a wonderful and fun way to support those less fortunate than ourselves. If you have a GM car, you are going to have direct access to help out. So kids, don't forget, from 6 a.m. on Christmas Eve to 5 a.m. Christmas morning, you'll want to find out where Santa is and press that OnStar button in your car. Yes, and it is that time. Happy holidays. Happy holidays. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. I'll be home for Christmas. Actually, I am home and I'm super excited. My daughters are here celebrating the holidays. And if you are running out of time for that perfect gift, I have one for you. It's one that I love probably more than all of the material things that my daughters get me. And that is handwritten notes or poems or a card that just expresses how much appreciation, love, and gratitude you have for that special person in your life. I swear I have collected them for the last 22 to 24 years from my daughters, and it is always my favorite gift. So there's an idea for you. Instead of running around, fighting the crowds, looking for that perfect gift where, there really isn't a perfect gift. I do have one that's very close to perfect to suggest to you, and that is the handwritten note. So if you sit down right now and decide that that is something you want to either add to your already wrapped presents or in lieu of that pair of socks, pajamas, or perfume, then I promise, and I want you to let me know if my suggestion worked. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be rhyming, but I have found that there's nothing better than a note or words from the heart. I also do a lot of those for the people in my life. I take their first letter in their name and write a little poem around it or what it stands for. Just a little gift idea from Dr. Marissa, and hopefully that will also add to the specialness of your Christmas. Also, for those men who loves sports, this Christmas, could you... I also have a suggestion for those of you who are not doing most of the cooking on the holidays. Instead of watching a sports game, you can still watch the sports game, but only after you really show the most sincere appreciation for those who do so much work in the kitchen for you. That means not just saying, this is good, but I want you to make a bigger deal than usual for this holiday season. Also expressing appreciation maybe to your kids who have gone through just as much as you have. I guess what I'm trying to tell you is to have a Dr. Marissa Happy 88 Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa holiday, I'm asking you to go above and beyond what you usually do on the holidays, especially since we've been through a pandemic, understanding for the first time, maybe, how important it is to be able to physically connect with our loved ones. Obviously, if you're going to party, please do be careful, wear a mask, socially distant, because we're not through it yet. And the precautions that we take can make the difference of whether we kick this thing out in 2022 or have to continue to be careful and isolate from each other another year. Please, please, please do your part. All right, enough lecture from Dr. Marissa. And when we come back, I have a guest for you who's going to be talking about her new book, and the theme is sexual addiction. The author, Jennifer Irwin, she's an award-winning author of a multi-award-winning debut novel, Address the Color of the Sky. So if you have any questions or experience or concerns with sexual addiction, this is a fiction book that actually reads as if it's a memoir. So I'm going to be asking her some questions about that. But if you've ever wondered about it, I know I have, this is the interview for you. So stay tuned. Don't go away. When we return on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show, here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify, Audible, and more, because I want the most possible acreage of Splatter Zone for more hope and happiness. And that's why I bring guests and topics that will help you up level your happiness. And today is no exception. I have here to Jennifer Irwin. She's an award-winning author. She's based in Los Angeles. It's a multi-award-winning debut novel called Address the Color of the Sky. And in that book, we meet Prudence, a sex addict who checks herself into rehab to keep from destroying her life and relationships. Address the Color of the Moon, a standalone sequel, picks up 5 weeks later after she and some of the people she met in rehab leave and try to navigate life among old relationships and temptations with their new skills. Irwin signed a film deal for the first book, which was put on hold by the pandemic, but we will prevail. Please welcome to the studio, Jennifer Irwin. Welcome, Jennifer. Thanks for coming to my pandemic virtual studio out of my living room. I'm so delighted to get to talk to you, get to know you, and to get to find out about your book. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute thrill to be on your show. You're kind of famous, so.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
People say you're famous. I said, maybe in my own mind. But anyways, so let's start. I usually ask people, did you think you were going to be an author when you were a little girl?
I would say I didn't. I knew that I wanted to do something creative. I didn't know exactly what. But I knew by the time I got to college, I knew it was going to be storytelling in some way.
Beautiful. I'm curious because it is a story about a sex addict and her adventures before, during, and after. So, is this a biography by any chance?
It's so the part of the book is loosely based on my life. The first book goes back and forth in time, so you get to know what happened to Prudence and how she ended up where she is. Why did she have issues with self-worth and self-love and associating sex with love? And a lot of these issues stem back to people's childhoods. And I took a look at my own childhood when I was writing the book and my experiences and how they had led me to marry the person that I married, who was the wrong person, and how I was going to unwind all the damage that was done during my childhood. So I used a lot of examples of things that had happened to me and made them happen to Prudence. But I did a lot of research to make the book realistic and the rehab inpatient program very realistic, and received a lot of praise for that. And then the sequel is completely 100% made up, but other people are still saying it reads like a memoir. So I must write very relatable, realistic type stories.
Yeah, that's a compliment. And I apologize if I went out of left field and put you on the spot with that.
No, everyone asked me that. I mean, it really does read like a memoir. I mean, it's very realistic. The best part is that when I first sent it to beta readers, the first book, some agents were telling me, oh, that would never happen, or, and it's usually something that actually did happen to me. So I'd be like, well, actually, that could happen.
It did happen.
Yeah. But it really did help me heal a lot to write the book. And even more than that, the response from readers and how much it helped them was even more cathartic for me, and springboarded me to want to keep writing and write the sequel.
Beautiful. So when did the first book come out?
So it came out in phases. The hardcover came out in 2017, and then in 2018, I released all the paperback and the Kindle and the audiobook in 2019.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sex addiction is, I think there's a lot of misperceptions. Let's just put it that way. So I think you're a good person, since you've done all the research, to sort of set things straight. Is that okay? Can we do that here?
I do want to clarify. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a woman who has been through a lot. And also, I taught Pilates for many years, so I got to speak to a lot of women. And then all the research I did for the book as well really helped me understand addiction. I'm the child of an addict. So there were a lot of pieces that came together to help me create a character who is very realistic. And with regards to sex addiction, I mean, a lot of people don't believe it's a real thing. I do. I think any addiction, anything that you feel shame about, that is affecting your personal relationships, that is seen as a problem and perhaps even affecting your job, is an addiction of some kind. So I definitely believe it's a real thing.
And yes, I definitely want to talk about sexual addiction further, but we have to take a break for the news. So please stay tuned here with my wonderful guest, Jennifer Irwin, as we talk about her new book here on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome back. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, including my YouTube channel, where you can get all of my past 601 shows, but who's counting, as well as my new short film, PPP, Post-Pandemic Possibilities, and of course, my red carpet playlist with my interviews with Halle Berry, John Travolta, Quincy Jones, and more. And today I have a special guest here. Her name is Jennifer Irwin, and we're talking about sexual addiction as it is the theme of her new book. Welcome back, Jennifer. And I actually don't have an opinion either way. I do know that I agree with you. If whatever you're doing is not working for you and you keep doing it, that's my definition of probably you have an addiction to it. Because if you know better and you do it anyways, and you're compelled to do it, Houston, we have a problem. So now sex addiction has multiple prongs, right? So some people say it's the inability to have healthy love relationships. That would be probably the most mild version. And then there's, I guess some people classify, addiction to pornography in that. Some people, multiple partners, but then we have now polyamorism and the wives of whatever on TV. So I'm getting a little confused. Please help me.
So I focused the treatment in my books on the Meadows, which is in Wickenburg, Arizona, and does treat sexual addiction. They're categorized part of the sex addiction. I'd say the majority of women are sex and love addicts. Prudence is not. She's a love avoidance. So she disassociates when she has sex, which is not typical for women. Women typically bond when they have sex and they bond very quickly. Whereas and I don't want to get in trouble for stereotyping, but typically men have less bonding right out of the gates as a woman does. But that could be changing with our culture and whatnot. But at the time that I wrote the book, that's the way it was. But there's a whole nother group at the Meadows that they sort of separate out, and those are massage parlor, porn addicts, pedophile, like people who are there for convictions and had to go for court orders. That's a whole separate group, and that group is really isolated.
So Prudence so describe, without giving away the whole book, because we definitely want to read the book, but just because I'm guessing that my listeners are going to go, oh, geez, that sounds like me. And that could be a good thing, because if you're consistently in unhappy relationships, it's possible this is the description. So give me Prudence's 20 questions of, how I know I've got a problem.
Mostly the way that I got it, that I described her character, is that she, I'm sorry, the sun's setting here in Los Angeles. It's very bright. She had a very traumatizing childhood, and her childhood experiences prevented her from actually associating sex with love. And so as a result, she was drawn to someone who also couldn't had difficulties expressing love. On top of that, there's codependence, which happens when you're the child of an addict and you're constantly caretaking for other people, and you feel like, I can help this person, I can change this person. It's sort of like a childlike mindset that you have control or power over someone else's addiction. So Prudence is sort of what I found when people check into rehab is they never walk out with just one addiction. Everybody's cross addicted. And even if you think you only have one addiction, they're going to tell you have other addictions. So Prudence basically was sexually assaulted and having these experiences in her childhood caused this damage, caused her to disassociate sex from love. And what ended up happening was her marriage fueled this sort of disconnection. It's something she had buried. And then she started having multiple sexual partners, 3 in one day, completely putting herself in danger. Obviously cheating on her husband, not, following her vows, but putting herself in danger. So it's when you're putting yourself in danger, you're risking a lot of things to get your addiction, that
Scratch that itch.
As a problem. Yeah. And the other thing that I was really I learned when I was doing research is a lot of this addiction is the buildup, the texting or sexting, the getting ready. By the time the act's happening, the bubble's been burst. And the high is happening as you're preparing, as you're kind of getting ready and
the chase.
Yeah, that sort of high happens. And then once they're having sex, it's not the bubble is kind of burst, and then they need to get that high again. So, but very often, sex addicts have been sexually assaulted or had childhood trauma in some way, physical or sexual trauma.
Yes. Yeah. I use that statistic a lot. Like 7 out of 10 of us have had some kind of childhood trauma, myself being one of them. And my honorable moniker, Oprah, says that it's as high as 8 out of 10. And psychologists now are saying like 93%. So it's no wonder that there's a lot of dis-ease out there, right?
And I really try to take a subject that's very difficult to talk about and maneuver through it in a way that doesn't, it can be triggering and slightly triggering for people. And most of the reviews will say, oh, trigger warnings or whatever, but I don't graphically get into it. It is definitely not a book that has a lot of sex in it. You'd think it would because it's about a sex addict. The sex is there to show her desperation. It's not there just for gratuitous reasons. And more
like 50 Shades of Grey.
Right. That's actually one of the springboards that got me this whole sex addiction idea. I was just really fascinated. At the time I was teaching Pilates full time and to mostly women, and how that book just lit our studio on fire, and women were just so recharged with their sexuality by this book. And I personally didn't like the book and couldn't really even finish it, but it actually was women were just so titillated by it and recharged their whole sexual energy. That really fascinated me. And especially the way that it was about domination and a man controlling a woman, and a man being, telling you, there were just so many innuendos there.
Subservience.
Right. And the other thing was that, like Tiger Woods and David Boreanaz and a lot of actors were coming out as sex addicts and explaining away their bad behavior. But you weren't hearing women coming out. So I thought to myself, well, I'm just going to create this character that's highly flawed, but likable and relatable. She's the girl next door, and she has a story. And at first she's, you open the book and she's having sex in an airplane bathroom, but once you start to find out what happened in her life, you root for her.
Well, that's human, our glory and fallibility of humanity, right? And when you've been damaged, you try to fix your damage, but not necessarily with the best toolkit. You do the best that you can, but exactly. Not necessarily. So did the writing of the book help you do some healing?
Tremendously. At the time that I started writing it, I had left my husband of 19 years, who is an alcoholic, highly functioning alcoholic. He struggles with expressing love, and I have been sexually assaulted, and I'm the victim of sexual assault. And I hadn't really come to grips with that. And I knew and my dad was an alcoholic drug addict, and I kind of put all these puzzle pieces together and thought, well, I know why I was drawn to this person, because at the time that I married him, he was sober, and I had talked him into that and threatened him that I would leave him if he didn't stop drinking. So that in itself was putting handcuffs on something that I couldn't control. And of course, he didn't, stay sober. So the wheels come off the bus. But at the same time, he struggled with expressing love, something I desperately wanted as a child. So it just has all these things, all these nuances. And I thought to myself, if I don't clear this baggage, I'm going to end up with someone like that again and have these same issues. And I need to find out why I haven't healed, get to the root of my problem. So I started writing the book, and it was very, very healing for me.
Great. How long did it take you?
Well, I was raising 3 kids by myself and teaching full-time Pilates and working some nights. So it took me years, like 2.5 years.
That's not long. So don't. Some people are 10 years in the working. So you applaud yourself there. Give yourself a pat on the back. Hey, for an multiple award-winning book in 2.5 years. Hey, that's definitely not slacking material.
It was, I think kind of, I springboarded from a screenplay I wrote in college. So I had sort of the concept and premise. But yeah, getting it down on paper, or so to speak, in the computer took years. And I think a lot of people want to write. And my advice to everyone is just do it. It's not easy. If everybody could write a book, everybody would do it. But if you really want to do it, you should try, because, failure is the thing that freezes us from chasing our dreams.
Absolutely. Well, I'm chuckling to myself because I just the interview I just did was with children's book authors, and I asked them the same. I meant to ask you the question, but you beat me to the answer, which was advice to people who want to write a book. And then you read my mind, and you started, and they said exactly the same thing, which I called gospel according to Nike. Just do it. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that you gave that advice already before I could ask. So the screenplay, did you do something with that?
So I had sent beta copies out to different people to read before I published the book. And I was on vacation and received a text message from someone who had received a copy and said they wanted to purchase the film rights to the book. And then after a lot of negotiating and obviously conversations back and forth, the person purchased the film rights, and it's a billionaire who is not in the film industry, but her daughter was at the time in the master's program at USC School of Cinematic Arts. So they were going to do it together. And basically,
congratulations.
Oh, thank you. And basically at the time, I wanted to get the book to market because of the film deal. And then obviously the pandemic happened, and I have a son that's in the film industry. So I know firsthand how hard hit the film industry has been. But I'm hoping it will all pick back up again. And the book's screaming to be more of like a series, a mini series, a limited series. It just reads like a screenplay. I was a film major in college. I have written screenplays. So this is just, it reads very much like a screenplay. So, and people write that in the reviews.
Wonderful. So it's available pretty much anywhere now?
Yeah. So both the books, I'll hold them up. So
yes, please.
The first one, Address the Color of the Sky.
Uh-huh.
This was just released, Address the Color of the Moon, which picks up right when Prudence gets out of rehab. And they're both available on Amazon, wherever books are sold, Barnes and Noble, your local bookstore, you can order it. I did publish indie, which means that it's probably not on the shelf at Barnes and Noble. You'll have to order it. It's in some Barnes and Nobles, but not all. And then write reviews. They really help authors out. They really help, especially indie authors. and just being on your show means a lot to me too, because
Of course.
just getting the grassroots marketing is my favorite way of marketing, and spreading the word that way. So I'm truly grateful that you had me on your show.
Of course. And you're kind enough to actually do a giveaway for my Asian Oprah giveaway.
I would give away to both a copy of each.
Okay, let's do a set.
I'll just let me know.
Oh, that's so sweet. So let's do a set for the first person who goes to drmarissa.life and puts in dress. That's the keyword. Then I'll know that you've actually listened, because I have some listeners who kind of shortcut. They know there's going to be an Asian Oprah giveaway, so they just put in Dr. Marissa or something. But dress is the keyword, and then we'll do one more with just the recent the sequel. Or do you have to? Is it better to read them together?
I think. I mean, you don't have to.
But let's do two sets then. I don't want to shortchange the second person.
Yeah.
So the first two people that put in dress will get a signed copy, and I'll send you their address. And and then when it becomes a movie, you're gonna say, "Look what I got here! I got the original signed copies before it became this takeoff movie." And I'm really, it just occurred to me that this is better than 50 Shades, because it's about healing from that craziness, healing from going to the tractor for milk. That's how I call looking for love in the wrong places, right? Yeah. I'm hoping that this pandemic allowed people who were so busy, crazy, doing what they normally do and sort of avoiding, as you were saying, some maybe trauma from the past, or understanding how you get into the same kinds of stupid relationships where you're asking for something that they can't give you. Yeah. Right?
No, yeah. These books just have more depth, and they have more relatable life experiences. Look, we read to escape, and believe me, there's plenty of escape in this book. and who doesn't want to know about what goes on inside the head of an addict in rehab, and that when they're all talking in the smoking area and their different conversations and their banter. I mean, it's hilarious. And I definitely try to keep it light and funny, and people read them in one night. I get messages on DMs like, "I'm so mad at you. I stayed up all night reading your book." So,
well, I can't wait to get my copy, and I will definitely have some fun with it. But I appreciate when authors and movie producers and directors are taking something and looking for the healing aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And so for that, I'm going to give you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award, because that's here. We got to get some applause for that. And I wasn't planning on doing that. Because I didn't realize that your fiction had such a healing component to it. And I'm all about that. I love people who take, stuff that's darkness and use it to shine some light so that there's a little less darkness. So thank you for that. Of course. Now, the last question that I always ask my guests is, to who or what are you most grateful for?
I would say my mom, who passed away a long time ago, when I was young, and she broke through into a very difficult career, mostly male-oriented career, and proved to me that with hard work and determination, you can do whatever you want and be whoever you want. And she was very service-oriented, served on the board, started foundations, started community service organizations, always gave back and supported women. She was just an incredible role model to me.
Yeah. Yeah. How long ago did she go to heaven?
Oh, like 29 years ago. So a
29.
very long
Okay.
time ago. But uh, she just had such a powerful impact on so many people's lives.
Mm. Can I
And
know her name?
her name was Eleanor Reynolds. She wrote a book about community service. She was won a commander of the British Empire from the Queen of England for her service to the British government. She was on the board of didn't graduate from college, but was on the board of a college because it had an honorary degree. She started a peer group in New York for women. She served on the board of Outward Bound. She was just amazing. And she was a very high powered executive search. So executive recruiting. I mean, when she passed away, George Bush wrote a letter, Leonard Lauder. I mean, Ed Sulzberger, the publisher of the New York Times. I mean, I have book binders and buyers of famous people I didn't even know she knew. She was very humble and not braggy and stuff. So I was always like, what? She knew, I mean, how did this, it was just, and she just was she inspired me to just always try and do better. And nothing's out of your reach with hard work and determination.
Beautiful. Well, I can tell you for sure that she's smiling and very proud of you. She's there with my dad, and they're loving us and supporting us. And she continues to love you and support you and applaud you. And I know that for a fact. So
we have guardian angels. I always look at it like that.
Yeah, for sure. Because my dad does the same thing. He's up there, just giving us a standing ovation today. This is show number 602 for me.
I love it. I feel like I'm 602. So that's
you what?
I said, I feel like I'm 600.
Oh, stop it. Now that's your mother's humility coming through. There's none of that. There's none of that. Well, what a wonderful time we've had. I'm delighted that you came on. I wish you the very best, although honestly, I don't think you need it. I have to figure out how to send out things beta. I'm going to have you look at my book that also, I don't know if you know about the happiness book.
I actually Googled you and looked some things up, but I didn't.
Okay.
I'll buy it for sure.
I'll get you a copy since you're getting me a copy. But it also hit 8 bestseller lists, and I'm going to have to talk to you because I've been told that my life should also be a screenplay. So with the abuse that I went through as a child, and fat, ugly, and clumsy, and never believing, to this day, I have this distorted image of who I am, and working through all of that. Mm-hmm. So there might be a little project for us to go on, and that's why I love my guests.
Stories are important to get out, and so many women have body dysmorphia from childhood issues and have a broken mirror, so to speak, and we see a beautiful person and they see the complete opposite.
Something different. Yeah.
So it's really hard. Women are very hard on themselves. So
yes, we are. Yes, we are. And I have 2 words to any woman right now who thinks they're fat, ugly, and not good enough and not smart. Look at me. Stop it.
Yeah. Listen to those voices.
It's not true. It's not true. It's BS. It's a belief system that is not true. And I'm telling myself as I'm telling you. So anyways, thank you so much for coming on. I wish you the best. And don't forget, if you would like a copy of Jennifer Irwin's set of books about Prudence, who's a sexual addict, who goes through recovery, and then almost like Sex in the City, recovery style, it sounds like, for the sequel. Exactly. How's that for an analogy?
I love that.
You can use it. Just mention my name.
I will. I'm going to use that. I love that.
Beautiful. All right. Take care. And
thank you.
All of you, I hope that you remember This is Dr. Marissa reporting live from her loving room during the pandemic. Always remember, and this is something that I do at the end of the show. You want to do it with me? Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace.
I love it.
Go forth and multiply the goodness that you are. And remember, have the best day ever.
If I had $100,000 in the bank, I'd be happy. Then it was 500,000, then it was $1 million, then it's 10 million. Now 10 million's not enough. I'll be happy when I finish school. I'll be happy when my parents are okay. I'll be happy when my kids are okay. I'll be happy when. Anybody? So when are you going to be happy?
Dr. Marissa, aka the Asian Oprah, says the most important thing you can choose is choosing to be happy.
For the next 8 years, it's my mission to have 8 million more people 88% happy. We're human beings. We cannot be happy
all the time.
Mm-hmm. But 8 is a lucky number. I know you thought I was Swedish, but I'm actually Chinese. And so double 8 is 88%, is double good fortune, which is our birthright to be happy 88% of the time.
If there is one thing that somebody can change today to make their life happier and their outlook happier, what is that one small thing that somebody can do?
So if your mind continues going to places that are dark and something or someone did something to you that was horrible, that's 7 out of 10 of us, the majority. So it's not what happened to you. It's what happened for you.
And focus on that.
Exactly. So pain in life is mandatory. Suffering is optional. So I can choose to look at that pain as something that chiseled me into greater good. So Phoenix Rising, that's my middle name in Chinese. So
I love that.
That's what I would say.
One of my teachers is Michael Bernard Beckwith, and he's a very good friend of Oprah's, introduced me to Oprah as this is the Asian Oprah. And I'm like, and she looked at me, and she looked down, she looked at me, smiled, and said, nice pants.
Well, she has been dubbed the Asian Oprah, and she just wants all of us to be happy. That's the idea for Dr. Marissa Pay's new book called 8 Ways to Be Happy.
Spirituality and knowing who I am and whose I am was very important.
Okay.
Knowing that I am a precious child of a friendly universe and of a God that conspires for me, never against me. That was the seed.
That's a good one.
That a seed that began to supplant that voice, because we all have, especially children who have had damage, have a voice that says, you shouldn't have said this, you shouldn't have said that, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you really are ugly. People compliment you, but they don't really know you.
It's about you. You have to begin to strengthen the beautiful part of you. You are one of a kind, amazing. 7.3 billion people on this planet, every single one different, like the grains of sand, like the leaves on the trees, like the drops of water in the ocean. We are all amazingly unique. Every single one of us have unique gifts, talents, and abilities to share, not because we're doing good necessarily, because it makes us feel good. Don't you feel good when you know you're making a difference? Yes, and you do make a difference in a way that only you can make a difference. There's nothing like this life. I don't know what's after. I don't know where we came from. I do know this is here. I know the present is a present because it's a gift, and you want to open it.